Welcome back to the Cincinnati Kids Vintage Baseball Card Channel. A few weeks ago, Terry of TJ Mag Vintage Cards and Nostalgia created a video in which he revealed his 10 favorite non-Hall of Fame baseball cards. After some pondering, I've decided to do an informal share of my 10 favorite non-Hall of Fame baseball cards. Yes, for those who remember my last video, I shared a bright springtime video of cards with a particular theme, and that theme was the color green. But I want this video to be really special. I wanted this to be a little more personal. So here are my favorite non-Hall of Fame cards with a brief explanation of why these cards matter to me and why I'm sharing them. First is my 1958 Topps Vada Pinson rookie card. For those of you who are new to my channel, Vada Pinson is my favorite vintage player and vintage Reds player to collect. I picked up this beautiful example in my late 20s when I first got the vintage bug. Notice the beautiful yellow background, which contrasts just as beautifully with his image, and the Reds in his name, and the team name, and the position that pop up here and there. I'm biased, so take this with a grain of salt, but Vada's smile is the second best in the vintage card era, second only to Ernie Banks. See, I have this thought that smiles are infectious. When genuine, a smile can be a gateway to a person's insides, their soul. People around the Reds when Vada was a young player said his smile was infectious and always lit up a room. In the following cards I'm going to share, about half the players on them are smiling and about half are not. I can't help but think those smiling have a more upbeat and positive view on life, and those that aren't smiling maybe didn't. I know that's going to be an assumption without proof, because who knew what they were thinking when their picture was snapped. But I tend to think smiling to others disarms them, makes people inviting to one another, kinder, perhaps even extends hope and concern for them. I'm trying to smile more, especially these days, because you never know how that might impact another person's life. Next up is my 1955 Topps Johnny Padres. This card was the very first vintage card I got off of eBay. My old friend Steve got it for me through his eBay account. I wasn't all that sophisticated and didn't have my own account yet. And some days I wish that were still true. Again, there is that infectious smile that would grace his 54 and 56 Topps cards as well. Maybe the recycled pictures were a lazy move by Topps, but in case, a good lazy move. I must admit, in my 20s, I didn't know much about Johnny Padres. To be honest, I was attracted to the card because of his beaming smile. It was so inviting to me, something better that I wasn't. Maybe the smile was there because he had just pitched a complete game victory in Game 7 of the '55 World Series. Years later, though, in 1967, in his final year of pro ball, the look on his face betrays that of his arm being spent and body maybe as well. With that smile and those thoughts of that Game 7 victory from 1955, a fading, distant memory. Laboring one more year at the Tigers, just short if he had made the roster the following season to be in yet one other World Series champion team. Next up, though, we go to the 70s, and from one of my favorite baseball sets. And I have here to share with you this 1975 Topps Thurman Munson. Although I vaguely remember his time at the Yankees, this image could have very well been like a poster on my childhood bedroom wall. It just screams 70s. Remembering more of the 80s than the later 70s, lots of people in my life said the 70s were a bad time. And I guess they partially were. But it was also an expressive time in fashion. Major moves in the rights for human rights, the fight for human rights. And yes, there was inflation, there was Watergate and Skylab. The last of the Apollo missions happened in the early 70s. The end of the Vietnam War. And people just seemed to live freer, or maybe carefree, more so than now. And this is what this card looks like to me. Carefree. Bob Marley and the Wailers. But I hear, with that beautiful blue sky background, the song Blue Skies by Irving Berlin. Blue skies smiling at me, nothing but blue skies do I see. The smiling here is that big blue sky. Dare I say, that blue spirit in the sky. The next card is just pure childhood nostalgia. It's just a simple run-of-the-mill 81 Donruss. But it's a 81 Donruss of one of my favorite childhood players, Peter Edward Rose. Why this Pete Rose card? A beat-up, mutilated version of the 81 Donruss Pete Rose was my first and only Pete Rose card from my childhood, when I briefly collected cards when I was playing Little League Baseball. I actually traded a couple of much better condition cards, and I don't remember who they were, to get a Pete Rose 81 Donruss Pete Rose card. Unfortunately, that card is gone. And I bought this one last year when I began really chasing low-cost nostalgia cards a lot more. Because to me, this is where collecting is really at. Yes, sometimes it is really neat to have higher priced, clearly awesome vintage cards. But this is really the heart of where my collecting early roots was from. The next card was a purchase from last year off of eBay. Bought it ungraded and then was sent in on one of my first grading submissions to SGC. It featured prominently in my last video, but it's hard to keep a good green card down, isn't it? And it is the rookie card, 1955 Topps, Ken Boyer. Boyer was a quiet, unassuming, and humble player. He let his glove, arm, and bat do the talking. I love this young image of him on this card, but the green background combined with the red and yellow name and background is what draws me to the card. It's 55 Topps again. Right now, I find the art in these cards to be the link as a favorite set in vintage. I will make the admission I'm looking to add some more of the big boy cards in this set at the upcoming National, until that plan changes. Next up is another favorite of mine, and it is a favorite because, again, of its artistic nature, its warmth and inviting color, from one of my all-time favorite sets, 58 Topps, of course, but there's something about this card of Camille Pascual that just keeps me back. It's essentially its 57 image, but it seems sort of arterized a bit. The orange background reminds me of some of the beautiful sets in movies, such as Breakfast at Tiffany's or North by Northwest. And he's smiling. Again, that smile draws me in. Same with his name, magic markered on the inside brim of his cap. Pasquale. When I had to downsize my collection about 8 years ago, I chose to keep this card and let his rookie go. Of course, he's not smiling on his rookie card. The card you're going to see next is the oldest card in this video of coming from my very limited pre-war collection. This one is my favorite. In the summer of 1941, the United States had been mired in the Great Depression since 1933. War was raging just about everywhere except the United States. And Joe D. and Ted Williams were terrorizing pitchers with their bats. Back in this era, the Cincinnati Reds had not one, but 2 ace starting pitchers. Along with Paul Derringer, this player, Bucky Walters, was a 20-game winner in 1940 for the pennant and World Series winning Reds. This card, the 1941 play ball, is a color-chrome art image of Walters' 1940 play ball black and white photo card. And this is a set I would like to add more cards from in the future. I really love the Cincinnati emblazoned across his uniform with the dark cap. A classic look the Reds would keep for their road uniform for the next 15 or so years. But Bucky's smile is what really draws me in. About the time the 1954 season rolled around, the Depression and the wars, World War II and Korea, were behind us. America's future was bright, and despite the Red Scare, the USA was moving forward. The FAA was coming into being as air travel was replacing train travel. Americans began taking to the road as Congress and President Eisenhower began paving the national interstate system across the land, which paved the way for unprecedented prosperity to that point in American history. The year before, 1953, was the sole AL MVP year for the player on this card. The 1954 Topps card of Bobby Shantz. Seen here in his Kansas City A's attire. This beautiful card was one of my first vintage cards, and last year, via TTM, Mr. Shantz gracefully autographed this card for me. No smiles here. Instead, our eyes witness steely determination on his face. Perhaps he's staring down Jimmy Pearsall in the box. Maybe Pearsall just took a big cut at Shantz's first pitch. Maybe he gave Shantz a funny look. Maybe Shantz is upset. He's just been pulled for the game because he's being traded back to the Yankees again. Up next is another card from my childhood, from when I played Little League Baseball. 1982 is the final year I played, and that year, 1982 Topps was one of my favorite cards to get in packages of candy and chewing gum. Why, you ask? Because I love those little swoops that reminded me of a hockey stick going down the left side of the card. Everyone at that point in time, every kid wanted a rookie card of Fernando Valenzuela. He was the pitcher of the moment. His rookie year, pitching well deep into the World Series. And even though he passed away last year, he's still a player that captured my thoughts and imaginations, even though I was a Reds fan. His rookie card, though, seemed very unattainable. I never got it when I was going through 81 tops, either the one that had Mike Scioscia on it, 2, or his solo Topps Traded rookie card. But I came across this one in a pack, and not this one exactly, because again, I lost this card from my childhood and replaced it last year with one that's very beautiful in a mid-grade that suits just for me. Is 82 Topps. There's that look of determination on his face, maybe a little tired from a long season before. But he had so much more yet to give. A Dodger icon of baseball. And speaking of icons, the next card just makes me gaze and gaze and gaze at it again and again and again. There really are no further words to say about it that haven't already been said. It is iconic. Iconic image, iconic card design, iconic season, iconic player. They say an image is worth 1,000 words. This one's worth at least 10,000. And so with that, my friends, until next time, thanks for watching, good night, and good luck.